I can never remember. Am I supposed to wait for something?
Well, we're recording now, so.
Even better. Perfect.
Yep.
Hello, internet. This is great. I asked to open and then I forget how the opening is. Hello, internet. This is Say Report Jr. I'm your co-host, Zach Sarlick.
Oh, and it's me. Okay. Hi, I am the other co-host, Dale Decker.
You can tell it's been like
Welcome.
a 3 week delay because we've
Yes.
completely forgotten how to do this.
I know
This
it's
is the
it's
show. This
feels
is the
weird.
show where two new friends who have never met in person record their conversations for the internet and hopefully, grow their friendship.
Exactly.
Uh, yeah, like you said, sorry we didn't come out last week. People have been sick and
Yes.
just been
Yes.
scheduling all this other stuff, but
Yes. Yeah.
Dale's alive. So,
Bronchitis is one hell of a thing.
oh God, it
Yeah.
sounds like your whole house just became like a pool of germs.
Yeah. Yeah. It was weird. Yeah, like I woke up and I was like, oh, my throat's a little scratchy. Meh, it's nothing. And then the next day, me and Devin were coughing and like our dad was coughing. I'm like, this is great. This is great. And then we waited, like, each of us waited 4 days. And then I was at work. Probably shouldn't have gone to work, but I was at work and I'm like coughing and doing all this. And my dad and Devin went to urgent care and found out they had that Devin had bronchitis. So I was like, I should probably go do that, and yeah, I had bronchitis too. So that was fun. But we're
Ugh.
good. Antibiotics are good, and still
This
doing
is
still doing
that's why
good.
that's why I live out in the desert. I live in a shack in the middle of nowhere. No one can get me.
Yep.
My only germs in the house are my own. Uh,
There you go.
um,
That's good.
I think very quickly we're gonna hit this. We're gonna do a quick Ready Player One follow up because in the time since our last recording, we have both seen the movie. We actually know what the story is now, which means that
Yes.
now when we complain about a couple of things, we're justified.
Yes.
It'd be
Yes.
really
Yes.
weird if we had to come back and be like, "Oh, sorry, everybody, it was a
It was
masterpiece. It's
fantastic. It was my best
Oscar."
movie of the year. Best movie of the year.
um,
Yeah.
so,
So,
so for you, how was your experience with the movie? Let's start there.
oh, I really did not enjoy it, like, at all. There was the only thing that I really enjoyed was the archive stuff. Also, shouldn't have to be said, but we should say it anyways. There's going to be spoilers.
Oh, sorry. Yes, everybody. Yeah.
But
Well,
if you
there's not
haven't,
even that many,
it,
but quite frankly,
yeah,
think about every adventure movie you've ever seen, and you're good.
exactly. Think about
Uh,
any movie you've ever seen. Like, also, if you haven't seen Ready Player One, then like you either didn't care enough to go see it and that's why you're listening to this anyway, so we can ruin it for you, or you just like missed the boat and hey, spoilers. I guess. But I the only thing I liked was the archival like library stuff, but I liked the footage in there, like the footage that they're watching,
right.
because
Yeah, I did like the way that was set up.
the
Yeah.
way it was filmed was gorgeous. Like I think Devin like whispered to, or I don't know if we like talked about it during the movie um or what, but like I think he was asked if there was like 360 cameras involved, which I would be awesome. That would be so good. But they were just so beautiful, and like it felt like an actual digital recording from the past, and not just, hey, here's some stuff. Like, here's an archive. Just watch it. Like that was the best part of the movie for me. And then everything else just sucked. Like
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
and it was really sad. Like, yeah, maybe I didn't go into it with like a 100% open mind, but I was pumped. Like the trailers pumped me up because it was like a Rampage trailer, which I'm super excited about. There was an Avengers Infinity War trailer that actually made me excited for Infinity
Oh,
War.
was it the new one where they've got the Wakandan soldiers like chanting in the background and all that? Because that's an
Mm,
excellent trailer that just came out.
I don't
That may
know.
have just been this past week.
I don't
So
remember. It was like a really the way it was shot was it was just like clips, like snippets of like here's this, here's this. Like it was very quick, and like it showed just what it showed made me excited because it like showcased the people who I actually care about in the Avengers, like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm like, okay, good. Like I only care about these people, and that's who you just chose to show me. So yeah, I'm pumped up. So I was super pumped, and then the this is lame, but like I think the Universal graphic that shows up for the production company was super cool because it was like digital somehow. Like it was kind of like circuit board esque looking.
Oh
Do you
yeah.
remember
So
that?
not really, but here's the thing. So I might have mentioned this before, but we've got like two one-screen theaters in town. So like
Yeah.
it's not the most high. So even if though it's a digital picture, like it's not like a perfect, crisp,
Yeah,
clean
I
thing,
got you.
which
I got you.
it doesn't bother me. I love it. It's like a local old theater that they
Mm,
spent like years refurbishing and all that.
yeah.
So, and I'm fine with that. But that also means like the sound is never like it
Great.
always sounds like it's set up for surround sound, but that the surround sound speakers aren't doing much, and
Ah,
like the
okay.
screen is just a little too like dark. Like they need to turn up the brightness a little bit, and it'll be perfect. So there's a lot of stuff
Mm.
I think I miss in that experience.
I mean, I also
So
could be wrong. Like it was either it was either the opening for Ready Player One or for Tomb Raider. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was Ready Player One. But it
I
was
like
like,
that both those movies just blend into each
yeah.
other at this point because they were both like meh.
Oh,
So,
I really like the Tomb Raider one, but we can talk
oh,
about that after.
oh, I've only heard that it's like let me go this way. I've heard it's one of the best video game movies, but that wasn't a high bar to clear, and so a lot of
Yeah,
like the
true.
action was great, but kind of forgettable, which
Yeah.
doesn't bother me. I probably watch it and love it.
It was great. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, so I felt like pumped going into Ready Player One, and then it starts doing narration, and I'm like, this is not. No, you already
Yeah,
lost me. Like,
yeah. It's the Blade Runner. It's the original Blade Runner cut problem, which is
I've
as
never
soon as
seen
you start
Blade Runner.
hearing.
I've never
So
seen Blade Runner.
I'm not going to
So
spoil
just,
too much. I'm just going to say like,
I'm just throwing that out there.
oh, that's okay. That's okay. 'Cause I've only ever seen one version of it, and that's the final cut that came
Yeah.
out on Blu. But largely, what you hear is that the original cut version had, they had like they did basically ADR voiceover
Mm,
for it because they were like, no one's going to understand what's going on, and so Harrison Ford had to come in and with like half a cup of coffee and him narrate their whole movie,
yeah.
and and so it's that same kind of mindset for this is that as soon as I hear narration at the start of a movie now, I immediately think, oh, you think we're not going to understand what's going on and you think we're stupid, so you put
Mm,
this voiceover in. Like
yeah.
you either didn't have enough trust in your own writer to explain this world,
Mhm.
or you don't have enough trust in your audience, and neither one of those makes for like a great movie
Yeah. I
experience.
mean, if if something needs narration, like flashbacks need narration to a degree, like there are times when it needs narration, but when you're doing a like post-apocalyptic kind of world, I don't want to hear the people talking within the first 5 seconds. I
No,
want to
I want
see the
to
world.
exactly.
Like
Yeah,
and something that stuck with me was like show don't tell. Like my screenwriting professor drilled that into our brains. So like now every time I'm like show don't tell, show don't tell, like stop telling me about your world and please just let me live in it for a couple seconds so I can understand what's
absolutely.
happening. So the narration starts and it's like this is boring. Like I am not captivated at all. And then like he goes into the Oasis for the first time, and I'm like, okay. And it starts with that race, that terrible race with the
Yeah,
DeLorean, and I'm like, this is pissing me off,
and
cause
right there is where like
uh
in my brain watching the movie I immediately started rewriting it.
huh,
Like, and as again, not a good sign for your movie when I go, oh, I can tell you one big thing that's going to make this whole scene better,
hmm,
especially when they do the race again 20 minutes later and it looks like the same exact thing. Like,
that was another thing I had a problem with. I don't know if it's
yeah,
a problem, but it's like confusion.
the story
Like,
is all screwed up because it doesn't set the world. It doesn't set
yeah,
the world properly at all. Even with that narration at the beginning, it just tells you, by the way, we're basically in dystopia. So just, whatever you
yeah.
think dystopia means, just put that in the background because we're not going to tell you any of it.
Hmm. Well,
Like it's really bad at explaining literally everything that's going on, and it just assumes you're going to go, well, they've seen dystopian
yeah.
movies before. They know.
Yeah,
It's like,
no, like
no, no,
the
no, no.
Oasis, like I don't really still know how the Oasis works. So I get how it works, but my problem was like you're talking about Planet Doom, right? And there's planets, but the drag race, I'm calling it a drag race. It's a drag race,
Basically,
pretty much.
yeah.
The drag race feels like a level. Like, it's always the same shit that
Right.
happens.
It's
Whereas
an instance.
yeah,
Like in an
whereas,
MMO, they would call that an instance,
yeah,
which is just the
exactly.
same
Or
event that
or
occurs.
an
Right.
event or something. Like, Planet Doom seemed like it was a different thing every time. And it probably wasn't, but it seemed like that.
Well, and what it was again bringing my own knowledge to it. I go, okay, so this racing game is like you're in a level of a racing game, and Planet Doom is like a level of like Call of Duty or Doom or something where it's
Yeah.
just a multiplayer deathmatch.
Yeah.
It's like those, but it's like I had to bring that to it though because the movie didn't tell me that.
Exactly. And also, I'm not going to hit every point, but after the movie, I was so upset. Like, I wrote an entire note on my phone of just everything that pissed me off. I'm sad that I didn't pay attention to the credits, because I always watch credits. I sit there and I read names and I watch the credits, because those people put their, these people put like 9 months of their life into this movie, so like they
Oh
deserve.
God, and just like the animators
Exactly,
alone,
like,
probably longer. Like,
they
yeah. Oh
deserve the
God.
recognition. But I was just like so upset, like, and I hate being upset after movies, but I just had to write it down. And like, one of the first things was like, how dare you disrespect the DeLorean in a fucking drag race? Like, no.
Especially because it's like the only time it shows up in the whole movie. It doesn't show up.
Like,
Like they don't need it
twice.
again. Like they don't need it
Yeah.
again. He doesn't use it to just get around.
Exactly.
Like it's just it.
And like, every time it hit something or something hit it, and I was like, I understand that it's a video game and you can just fix it, or H can just fix it for you, but fucking no. Like, no, this is not
Yeah.
okay for me.
Oh God.
And then
And like, oh, you keep going.
I feel so bad that I'm so against the movie, but it should have hit all these boxes for me, and it just didn't. Like, also, The Shining, I've never seen The Shining, but
Oh,
like,
God.
that whole sequence was awful. And the biggest reason was, like, why is there a ticking clock? Because none of the other challenges had ticking clocks. None of them had clocks or timers. So it's just like, video games have timers, let's put a timer in.
Right. And I'm actually so
But-
that specific aspect doesn't bother me so much because the idea, like all three things had like their own rules. Like one was the race, one is the ticking clock timed thing, and then one is
Yeah.
they're playing the game until they figure out basically they're not supposed to be playing the game. Like,
Oh, that's the
but-
biggest one.
but yes, that doesn't bother me so much. What bothered me in the Shining sequence is the way that they used the key to get the clue, which they did not have to do after the DeLorean race. Like none of this is
Yeah.
structured, nor like none of this has any structure to
Mhm.
it. So he ends the race, gets the first key by having it handed to him, and then gets the next clue by it just coming out of a thing in the ground and having it handed to him.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. But then
Yeah.
they get to the second challenge, and he gets they get the next clue by having to use the key they just got to open a giant freaking door that goes nowhere because a tiny little door in that opens and hands them the clue, which they didn't have to do the first time. So like, why is that so inconsistent?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I guess, like, progression-wise, like, it gets harder. I don't even know. But, like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
They could have just as easily had the girl, the woman hand it to him,
Yeah.
hit it to either of them, and it would have made just as much sense.
Mhm.
Ugh.
So I think what it boils down to, like, my biggest problem, so the, like, big thing, I guess, like, if you have to give a meaning to this movie or, like, a message that it wanted to send, is, like, just play video games because they're fun. Like, don't make it a competition. Don't, like, it should just be fun for everybody.
And it also
like,
should not be your whole life.
Yeah,
which
it
is
shouldn't be your whole life.
literally a message that they stuck to the end of that movie
Yeah.
that does not follow through with the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
But like
exactly.
the big stinger at the end is, oh, by the way, we also made it so you can't play video games for 2 days, so
Yeah.
people have to live real lives. It's like I
Exactly.
was under the impression your real life sucked though,
Yeah.
and you didn't do anything to make real lives any better.
So the reason why that pissed me off so much was like, oh, just play the game and have fun. The only reason why Percival, I think that's his name, Percival, like, knew about the Easter egg in Adventure, streaming exists. fucking Twitch still exists somehow, which I do, like, why? How are you watching Twitch? You just go
Well,
into
see,
the Oasis to watch someone else play the Oasis? Fuck
I mean,
yourself.
probably. But here's the, yeah, probably. First off, yeah, probably. Secondly, I could very easily picture like, oh, we've got a bunch of movie theaters set up, and if you go sit in one, it's a Twitch stream of someone playing
Yeah,
Battlegrounds. Like, I
like
get
that.
that.
Ugh.
I can create that in my head, but
That's
like,
not the case
this is
though.
part of yeah, and part of the problem, and right, and part of the problem is again, they don't do a single thing to really build out the world outside of it,
Yeah.
despite the fact that there's like a good third of the movie that takes place out in the real world. You don't get any sense of what the real world actually is.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
exactly.
know. Like, you get the idea that people are spending their entire days and entire lives in the Oasis, and yet when they're driving around in the real world, there's kids going to school and people working.
Yeah, like
Like, people are living lives outside of the Oasis.
that's
So
another thing.
obviously,
I didn't
like, what is going on with this idea?
Yeah. But so the whole meaning of him like finding the Easter egg was so lost on me because I'm like, clearly you watched a walkthrough of someone finding the Easter egg. It's not like you were standing there playing adventure and was just like, oh, look at this invisible dot I have. Like, you watched someone figure that out and you knew it, and that's the
Right.
problem with
Or
like
you
modern.
like read a biography or something.
Exactly. Like
Right.
that's the problem today with the internet and Twitch and stuff is that like no one really finds stuff out for themselves anymore. Which like yeah, it's the world we live in, whatever. But it's like that scene would have meant so much more if I had known that streaming and Twitch and walkthroughs didn't exist. Because then I'm believing he had played this game before and found it by himself. Also, that redheaded IOI girl
Mm-hmm.
at the end, she's
Oh,
like, "Oh
you mean the
yeah,
one that
it's the Easter
the one
egg."
that the one that makes absolutely that does nothing, and
Yeah,
they shit on for having a pretty good idea
yeah,
because she at least had the game right, and you guys are
but
just wrong.
so she had the game right, but she also knew about the Easter egg. So why didn't she say it up front? That's I don't
No,
get
her,
that.
that whole like that whole like room of like nerds, like they were like, it sounded like someone was like, oh, we need to have this girl make this decision and have a schlubby bearded fat guy
Yeah,
shit on her because girls don't know things about games. And then the big comeuppance is supposed to be, no, she had the game right. The problem is that doesn't matter.
exactly.
She had the game right, but she still didn't know what to do. And also, she's hugging that guy at the end
But she
because, yeah,
did.
sure, why not?
That's the
Like,
thing. She did know what to do, and she just didn't say it. Like she, at the end, she's like, "Oh yeah, you're not really supposed to win adventure. You're just supposed to play." Like, where was that 5 minutes ago, bitch? Like, I'm being very vulgar, and like
it's okay.
I'm being more vulgar on this episode than I have, and it's really unnecessary. But like, come on, what? Why didn't you say that? Like, we could have
okay.
won.
Yeah, yeah. So, so to pull back something,
That's it.
this is great because I'm going to do the reverse compliment sandwich. So you said your stuff. I'm going to say something I kind of liked about it, and then I'm going to shit on it some more. So through all of this, there's also like there are the bones to a story I'm actually fine with. Probably again because it's so super generic, but like just the idea that like, oh, we live in this crappy future. Everybody spends that to escape. Everybody escapes into the world, and that escapism is stopping them from actually solving their problems. I actually really like I like the bad guy. But I forget his name in most of this. But he's the same guy who was the general in Rogue One, and he was excellent in that too. Guy plays like
Was he in Rogue One?
he's the general in Rogue One with the lisp.
I'm gonna be
Oh.
honest with you. I completely forget about that movie. I fell asleep during it. Continue.
I did the first time and really liked it the second time. I have no idea what happened there, but he plays like snippy bureaucrat perfectly, and so like and so everything that guy most of the scenes with that guy were great. Their plan. The only reason their plan doesn't really make sense is because they're already seem to be making a ton of money off of this game. So why do they then need to take it over and put more ads in to make more money? I don't know. That whole plan doesn't make any sense because again, they don't explain anything. And I liked a lot of the stuff in like the real world with them driving, like trying to get away and like everything in like the postal truck and all of that while he's trying to play the game while the truck is like flipping around and all of that. That stuff is fun
kind of cool. Yeah.
because that's fun, basic adventure, like 80s adventure fun stuff that Spielberg is great with.
Yeah.
And of course, as soon as they get into the game, Spielberg can't really direct computer characters. And so everything that he's good for goes right out the window. So most of my problems with this movie overall, saying all that, can be brought down to a single item in the game that I think represents every problem I have with it,
Mm.
and that is the freaking Zemeckis cube.
Ah, thank you, thank you.
I thought you might feel that as a Back to the Future fan.
Oh, I
So
was
if
so
those so
upset.
this is one of the things I'm going to really break down, and I'm sorry to spoil this for people, but if you've listened this far, you've listened this far. So the Zemeckis cube is a Rubik's cube that if you solve it, it shoots you back in time 60 seconds. That makes no freaking sense
Nope.
whatsoever. One, there's no Rubik's cube in any of the three Back to the Future movies that I remember.
Yep.
Do you, okay.
Nope.
So, two, there's no reason to go back in time 60 seconds when they go back in time, forward in time, and then back in time years.
Thank you.
Never once do they take the DeLorean and go, oh, we need to fix this little mistake we made. Let's go back 60 seconds, watch ourselves drive away, and then fix that problem we made. They never do that. So why? And and so what it is that someone went, oh, Rubik's cubes, that's the 80s. Oh, time travel and Back to the Future. Okay, let's put these two things together and make a little thing out of it that makes no sense. And that whole movie is, we're going to reference one thing, and then we're going to take that reference and use it to reference another thing, and then we're going to take that reference to reference another thing, and it's not going to matter. Like you don't feel anything because
I'm so happy.
we talked a lot about nostalgia last episode and all this stuff, and I realized something watching this movie. This movie is not nostalgia. This is not nostalgia in the movie. This is reference the movie. Those are two very different things, because there is not a single reference in this movie that you are supposed to look at and feel anything for.
Yeah.
They are not trying to make you go, oh, hey, I remember how I feel about that. They're making you go, oh, hey, I know that thing. That's it. They never go in a deeper level than that. And that even goes for the Iron Giant.
Oh man.
The Iron Giant does the Terminator 2 thumbs up when it falls into the lava at the end. Why?
Guess is as good as mine.
They had in the Iron Giant and in H the perfect opportunity to say something about the world and about even her character.
Yep.
By going, first off, her whole thing is she makes mods and sells them.
Yes.
Which even today is like considered kind of a faux pas. It's like a big thing that Bethesda tried to make paid mods for Skyrim and Fallout, and like the mod world rebelled and all this crap, right?
I think yeah.
So the idea that her job essentially is to make mods and sell them is like a spit in the face to all of the people who already hate that idea.
Exactly.
And then you get this idea that she never mentions. All she does is say, oh, yeah, it's the Iron Giant. I felt like making it because I'm going to sell it to someone. She doesn't care about the Iron Giant. She doesn't care about any of the stuff she makes.
Yeah.
She just wants to make money off of other people who also probably don't care. They could have taken her character. They could have taken her as the Iron Giant in that final battle at the end and made the whole thing about how she's like, the world is terrible. It needs protectors. It needs people who defend these smaller people who are getting taken advantage of. And then during that final fight, she could just be protecting people. She doesn't need to be shooting people with eye beams and a hand cannon that the Iron Giant very specifically did not want to use.
Exactly. Yeah, I after like while I was sick home, while Devin and I were sick, we decided to watch Iron Giant because I had never seen it. And I was like, you know what? I should actually watch it before I start shitting on Ready Player One for using the Iron Giant.
Gotta have informed anger.
Exactly,
That's always the best anger.
So I'm like, okay. So I'm watching it, and the whole thing, like you said, he doesn't want to be a gun. And the only time he uses the gun is in self-defense. But then he doesn't even want to do that.
No, he feels terrible about
it. Like, he doesn't even want to defend himself. He does not care if he dies because guess what? He's a freaking alien machine that can pull himself back together. Like, that is the thing. He just wants...
The thing that really shits on that the most is that 2 minutes into that fight, one of the, so most of the diversity in this comes in these three friends that they have.
Yeah.
And there's H, and then I don't even remember the
names.
two Asian guys' names, the little kid and the other guy. But the other guy sits there meditating because that's what Asian people do. They meditate.
Yeah.
Meditating for the whole fight, and then comes in a Gundam, attacks for 5 seconds, and then dies. why don't you just get rid of the Iron Giant and just have him in the Gundam the whole time?
Yeah,
Because those things are made to fight.
exactly. Exactly. Like, oh, like I didn't understand. I mean, I understood the Iron Giant because I knew about the Iron Giant, but I'm like, okay, this just feels wrong. And then I watch it, I'm like, wow, you completely missed the mark. Like, yeah, because someone could argue, oh, well, he was defending everybody. It's like, but he doesn't even want to defend because he'll turn into a gun. Like, it would have, yeah, no. And then, like, am I supposed to feel something when he falls into the lava? No,
No, because nobody
because
dies.
nobody
All they do is
fucking dies.
they lose all of their hard-earned money that they had again, which makes no sense.
Yep.
Um,
I would never play a video game like that.
right.
Never. I would
Like that's
never.
oh my God,
That's
it
why I
just
didn't.
makes
That's why I
like
couldn't get
again,
through Breath of the Wild. I could not get through that game. I'm like, everything I get is gonna break. I'm not doing this.
it's just like it was like made without any understanding of one, just like video game economies as they exist right now. So
Mm.
does it like the fact that you can't create a dystopia without knowing how stuff worked before that. Um, it's just like it's so much just generic story crammed together around just like things happening that make no sense. It's so bad. And just like this is the last thing I'm gonna say. Also, they have this whole fight about the fact that he like 2 minutes into knowing this girl online, he says he loves her, and she's like, "No, that's you can't possibly know that." And I was like, "Great, this is great. I love that they're giving this guy shit for this. This is perfect." And then 10 minutes later they meet in the real world and it's like, oh no, we do love each other. Sorry, I was wrong. I was wrong, everybody. We love each other because apparently I was wrong.
Yeah.
I've got a birthmark that's apparently supposed to be horribly disfiguring.
Yeah, that I didn't get that either. I mean, I get it. Like, I understand that
I,
those things
I
happen.
have to imagine that like in the book there was like, well, I was going to say 5 pages explaining that. It's probably 10 pages because every other line they were referencing 5 things.
Yeah.
But I have to imagine like that's probably better explained, and it's also probably supposed to be either more disfiguring than a birthmark,
Yeah.
or there's probably some whole thing about how she thinks it's worse than it really is, or something. Like I could see that being written, but that does not translate to screen whatsoever.
Man,
Whatsoever.
last thing I want to say, I'm so happy that you brought up the Zemeckis cube because in the movie, when that came up, I flipped off the screen and like I was just so angry, like
Uh,
more anger than I think I've ever felt towards the movie, and I was so upset, and I'm happy that you brought it up and that I somehow was able to forget about that anger because yeah.
oh man,
Uh,
oh man, oh man. Okay,
all right, so
that's it. I'm done with that movie. It's out
done
of
with
my.
this movie.
It's done.
Out of our systems. We're good. No more anger. If you want to go,
Oh
if you like it, here's the thing. If you like it, good for
yeah,
you. You were able
yeah.
to
None of
enjoy it. Like, I'm
we gotta start
happy
putting
for you.
disclaimers out. Just putting disclaimers out. By the way, none of this matters if you liked it.
Ex- exactly. You don't have to listen to us. Like, we're just two
Oh.
assholes on the internet. But let's go on to happier things and,
Yes,
and
let's
less
go on.
negativity.
Let's go. Let's go backwards, but also forwards in time because
Ooh,
it's
I like
future
it.
cavemen.
Like
Let's
it.
go to future cavemen.
Future caveman.
So in the interim, since our last episode, I've beaten Horizon Zero Dawn, um, and I just gotta like it was wonderful start to
So,
finish. I
did
loved like having
so
the time. So the last time I played it, I fell off a little bit just
mm,
because so many open world games have been out. But it's just been a while since I played a game like that. It was like perfect timing to
did
get back in.
did you start again? Like, did you
I
just
did
and then you
because I couldn't
went through?
remember the
Wow.
30 hours I played before.
So
So
you have probably like beaten it 1.5 times
basically, yeah.
before I've even beaten it once.
Eh, that's not, I mean, it's because like really like after work and then on the weekend I don't do a lot.
Yeah.
There's not a lot going on in my town. So yeah, so I can play like morning to night and then that way
Yeah.
I don't yeah. Oh God,
Exactly.
it's goofy and dumb in like the best places, and like even the story kind of predictable. Like you kind of get an idea pretty early on what happened, and then you just kind of watch it happen. But the performances are so amazing.
Mm,
Like the game is gorgeous. It's
yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah, I cry at video games. I cry so much at Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, so much. There's gonna be spoilers for this, but don't spoil anything for me, because
I won't.
the last thing I did was I Maker's End, so I got to watch all the holograms with Elizabeth.
Okay, yeah. So that
Um,
yeah, and from there, like whatever you're thinking about as the story going forward, that's probably right.
yeah.
But yeah, that's I think that's where I sent you the photo
You sent me the
online
photo, and I was
where
like,
the two
"Where's
holograms.
this
The
from?"
the freaking photo mode. The photo mode is so
Oh my
good
god,
in that game.
I didn't realize that you could change your pose. I never
Yeah.
realized that. And
So and that
then
was introduced in like an update like two or
exactly,
three
yeah.
months in or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But so that's how far I am. And then you know how there's that bandit camp right outside of it?
Right.
So I'm like, I'm not passing. I tried it like 4 times. I'm like, I'm not moving on until I get this bandit camp. And I can make it halfway through, like kill half of the enemies. And for I just slip up every time. So so it's very frustrating. So I stopped after that. But yeah, that's how far I am.
Have you ever like if you liberate the people that are like captured there, they'll go around and help you kill people. Have you used that strategy at all?
I did not know they would help you kill people
Yeah,
because
they'll
I
they'll follow
did
you
do that.
around.
Because I did that,
Yeah.
and they just ran away.
Oh, I guess
So
maybe it depends. Maybe it like randomizes the people that are captured. But like if
maybe,
you capture people that are like if they happen to be people that are like the random like hunters and like warriors that are
hmm
just kind of running around the map, they
yeah,
will kind of walk with you and follow you around and sneak around and attack people if you attack people.
yeah. I do
Um,
think so it's weird. It's like you can either go fight the bandit. This is why I love this game because you can you're going down a path. You can either go down the path, forget what's going on around you. You could go take on the bandit camp, or you can go take on the long necks and the chargers and the
oh,
scrappers
oh
like in that
man,
area. And
those
I kept
creatures are so
I know,
gorgeous.
right? So I kept going for the bandit camp, but there was a moment where I saw people like over near the scrappers. I think it's scrappers, long necks, and I think there are chargers there too. So I saw people over there, and I was like, and I did the focus, and it looked like they were bad people. So I just let them leave, like go, and they got killed. Cause I'm like, you're bandits, you're bad anyways. If you're over here, I'm gonna kill you anyways. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, those actually might have been good people who I just let die. Like maybe I didn't read the focus correctly. I'm not gonna worry about it. It's a video game. I'm not gonna worry about it.
I mean,
So
that's
I
the
just
thing.
like continued.
You failing to help them doesn't like get you in trouble or anything. It's
Exactly.
only like if you walked up to it's like if you walked into a town and started just like shooting people with bows. That would probably be a bad
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
But
They were already in.
it's this is nature now. Man versus machine is the nature now. Nature took its course.
Exactly. But yeah, the Erin thing. Like I think I texted you and I was like, Aloy and Erin need to have beautiful babies. Like I need them to have children.
Aaron
Like
is
I
just
just
like this dumb, dumb, lovable
I
idiot
love
that's just
him.
stumbling around the world
Oh
like
my
I'm supposed to be in
god.
charge, but my sister was the smart one. What do I do? I'm gonna go get drunk. You guys figure this out.
My old manager at GameStop also played the game a little bit when it first came out. And so I texted her a picture and I was like, oh, no, I just texted her out of the blue and I was like, Erin and Aloy need to have beautiful babies together. And she was like, I can't believe you're still playing that game. And I was like, I'm calling it now because apparently there's a sequel in the work. I'm like, I'm calling it
Not
now.
surprising.
Yeah, I'm calling it now. The sequel is going to be about Erin and Aloy's twin children, fraternal twins, and I gave them names. I need to find the names.
Oh
I need.
man, you went full fanfic
I
on
like
this.
went insane. Went insane. I was like, this is too much. I'm too crazy about this game. Oh, where is it? No, I need to find the name. There it is. Okay. I want Aaron and Aloy to have beautiful babies together. And I'm telling you, the sequel will be about their fraternal twins Emmett and Aliana going and saving the world. That is what I named their children.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here like the one that I thought that I mean, Erin, great character. Probably my favorite though is Petra Forge Woman,
You
who's a
oh,
random NPC.
I need to
Random
find
NPC.
her.
You walk into one of the Ossa Room camps and she's running the forge and she helps you train on this like giant cannon that
Oh,
you end up
sweet.
using later.
Okay.
But it's just great to talk to her because she's just like everything out of her mouth is I'm just hitting on you and you're not noticing this because you're an idiot.
That's
she's like
fantastic.
she's like just make sure you don't hold this thing against your hips because it's going to have a kickback and you want to make sure you're able to thrust later for it. And Ayla's like I got it. Just stop.
I need to find that. Because that's
Uh,
awesome that
Like I just
that
love it. Just like
exists.
this is like random people are just like follow like
Fantastic.
people all over this world are just like randomly running into Aloy, deciding that they're in love with her, and she's too stupid to realize it.
Well, she doesn't have people skills. She's been living
Exactly.
with Ross her whole life,
She's
and
got no context whatsoever for him.
when you said me Aloy doesn't understand holograms, I laughed out loud. I'm like,
Oh
she
yeah,
really
'cause that's
doesn't. Like,
that's the best thing is like the thing with the whole photo mode is that you also have the option to change her facial expression and
yep.
her position
hmm
as she's standing there. So I just have her standing between these two holograms with a confused look on her face, which is like, here's the most serious part of the story being told to you right now. Here's all of the questions answered for you. And she's like, I don't know.
How
I
does
can like
this
get her
light
laying
work?
down between the.
Oh man, I that is so cool. I've never had a game with photo mode. I know like Uncharted has one, but I never knew it was a thing until this game, and I'm like, that's really cool. I really appreciate that because otherwise I would just be trying to take the photos and it would look awful.
It's like so like it's got like 8 or 10 different filters and you
Yeah.
can change the
Oh.
time of day. All of this
Mhm.
is like outside of the game. Like it just pauses the game and lets you fool around with whatever you have
Yep.
framed at the time.
Yep.
So it's like you can change the time of day, you can change filters, you can put borders on it. It's like this is like the dumbest thing that makes this whole thing worthwhile because it's such a beautifully crafted world that to just sit there for 10 minutes and be like, what's the perfect angle I can get on this mountain top? Looks really great with the
Exactly.
sun behind it. Ooh, black and white. That's really pretty. It's like, oh wait, I'm supposed to be doing something. Hold on.
One of my I took a picture and it was like one of my favorite pictures. It's not a good picture, but it's early on in the game and she's on it. It looks like a highway, so it's like a highway or like an interstate kind of thing. And I don't know where it is. I probably could never find it again. But it's like so it's a stretch of highway that you can just climb up on and there's holes and everything. And there are like two signs that have been broken. So like the green signs, so like
Right,
for like
right.
exit numbers or whatever. And that is the coolest thing to me that they included that because it makes sense that it would still exist because it's pavement and metal and and it just looked so cool and that's like one of my favorite pictures that I've taken because she's just like looking up at it and it was great.
Oh man, I feel so much better now.
Me too. Oh my god. So
uh,
you've been playing far. We're just like moving right along. Let's.
we are. This is well. Again, we've done a lot the last few weeks, but
We have, yeah.
uh,
I haven't, but I've done a
well,
lot. Actually, I've been sick, but I did do a
you've been
lot.
surviving.
Yeah, I did do a lot in Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm happy with my progress. I also watched some movies. Puddle Cruisers is a fantastic movie. I don't know if you've
Yeah, I just
ever.
have to search that. They talked about it on the
Yeah,
senior earlier.
yeah.
So
I'm a
yeah, so
senior.
I've seen no,
Um.
but the earliest one from Broken Lizard I've seen is Club Dread, which
Oh,
I
I
didn't
haven't.
realize until probably like a few months ago. I finally watched the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies.
Mhm.
I did not realize that Club Dread is just I Know What You Did Last Summer 2, which is basically like, what if we took all the characters from I Know What You Did Last Summer and met them on a beach?
Oh God.
It's
Oh
like,
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
those. Oh my God,
That's
we're gonna
great.
get into like my love of like trashy teen slashers one day. Because Scream is my favorite franchise,
Oh
like my
really?
favorite film franchise ever.
Never seen it.
And so like it's real good. It's real good. And then I watched like I Know What You Did Last Summer, and compared to Scream, it's like the dumbest movies ever, but they're still kind of fun.
That's great.
But but yeah. So Club Dread, like for years, like it didn't occur to me like what like all of the like what that movie is heavily referencing, but
Nice.
still very good, still very
That's good.
funny. But yeah,
Yeah, I love Puddle Cruiser, and like it shows that the Broken Lizard guys can like actually have some seriousness to them as well as just like being all out hilarity and ridiculousness. Um, but and then PCU too. I don't know if they talked about that, but PCU is a fantastic movie. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have because there was a good time, probably between 1997 and 1999, where that's what Comedy Central would play at 4 o'clock in the afternoon
Yep.
just to fill time.
Yeah.
Literally every day PCU came on.
That's awesome. That's pretty much it for me. So you've been playing Far Cry, right?
I have.
All right.
I played it, beat it because
Far Cry
I
5.
got really into it. Yes, Far Cry 5. Um, the best thing I could so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing it. I got frustrated at it like every 10 minutes, but like in a good way. It's the first game in a long time where I was like screaming at my TV because I just couldn't get through it like 5 seconds without someone shooting me from something. And I actually like so many people are shitting on the story right now. I liked it. It definitely faltered a lot of places and it definitely has its problems. But I overall like the story, and that's because I waited a week to get that game and watched everybody fight about it.
Nice.
So Ubisoft it all over this game before it came out, basically, in that they tried. So like a year or so ago, right before like the big E3 announcement, they announced that the game was coming out,
Yeah.
brought like big games journalist people out to get like a secret viewing of it before E3, and they definitely were talking about the game being much more of like white supremacist militia groups and like those like sovereign citizen militia groups and stuff like that. And then the election happened.
Yep.
So this was 2016. Yeah. So, and then like just after the election happened and things started to get really awkward, all of a sudden they started shifting their story a little bit. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden it wasn't white militia groups. It was a doomsday cult. And, the doomsday cults like in the 70s that were much more multicultural, and it's not about, it's not about stockpiling guns for this. It's because they think the world is ending in that. And it's like they muddled it so much that
Yeah.
by the time the game came out, no one knew how to react to it
Oh
because
wow.
they're just like, this is not the game we were first promised. It's really not. Like, it kind of falls flat on the game you started to promise afterwards. Rumors are out that like in the last year of development of that game, they went through and like put a bunch of band-aids on it to change up the story as much as possible, because I think like it was going to be much more of what they originally pitched, and then they like panicked when they saw like shitty dudes backlash to it.
Yeah.
So it definitely feels a little uneven because of that. But as a huge Stephen King fan, you go into that going, okay, I'm getting into a Stephen King story, not like I'm not going in to watch like to get like John Steinbeck, the Souls of Man story, that like Ubisoft can't do that,
Yeah.
and they have to stop pretending like they can. Because the pulpy stupid story they gave you is perfectly fine. And
Nice.
it's like, so without going into like spoilers and stuff, the whole Far Cry series is always about like you get stuck in this exotic place and you have to get out, and you do it by regaining control of all the regions, very much like open world Ubisoft Assassin's Creed stuff.
Yep.
And this is now, it's Far Cry 5. I think Ubisoft's always been making them, but like
Yeah.
Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon, Far Cry 4, and then Far Cry Primal are like the big ones that everyone thinks of now of the Far Cry series. And so
Yeah.
5 is just
I feel
more
like
of that.
Primal is like huge. I've never played any of them,
It,
so
it,
I've only
it, it
heard.
really is like, and it's really funny because of the way that they structured the game, you can pretty much tell the story of all of those games the same way, which
Mhm.
is someone gets stuck in an area, gets wrapped up with the rebels who are trying to go against whatever charismatic dictator leader has taken over, and so you're just going to go through and like take over each region and slowly build up your weapons and your power and your armies until you go after the bad guy. That's
Yeah.
it. Like that just described all 6 of those games.
That.
And then it's just whatever story and like makeup they put on it that changes it. And the big one for this was that they placed it in America, and you're in a county in Montana that they made up, and this doomsday cult has Ben causing problems. And again, like the first story misstep they make is that a lot of the setup is before the game even starts. And so like
Okay.
this doomsday cult has taken over like businesses and taken people from their homes
Mm.
and brought them in and all this stuff that cults do,
Yes.
that like they slowly like they buy businesses up and they like get people, other owners and local community members to be there, to be in the cult, so that everybody thinks that they're great people and all this, and then all of a sudden it's like they turn on the crazy. And so you get there when they turn on the crazy, and so like you don't see a lot of that setup, and so it feels very like it feels very generic and kind of
Yeah.
bland,
Yeah.
because like, okay, I know what this is because we've seen it 1,000 times, because I get that it's not exciting to see the setup, but at the same time you have no emotional connection to anything.
Mm.
um, but then you go through and the three regions are done by are controlled by the three siblings to the main preacher, and they all have different ways of controlling people, and so that kind of ties into the story.
Oh,
And so
okay.
I think there's a lot there to talk about themes of control and conspiracy theories. Like every NPC you talk to is talking about how like the government was doing stuff and like conspiracy theory stuff before this anyway. And you've got like a bunch, like there's one guy that you go around helping him find like alien parts because he's convinced of like an X-File style
Oh
like
wow. Okay.
conspiracy for aliens to come around.
Huh.
um
That's kind of cool.
and it's just, yeah, so there's like there are themes and motifs going through the whole game, and it just seems like a lot of people went, but it's not the game you promised, so it's like
Yeah.
it's like no, but like the game is like, let's talk about this story though, because this story is really interesting to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. A friend of mine just finished it, and he really liked it until the ending. And he
Yes,
was
I
just
that's
upset.
yeah, and that's again not surprising.
Yeah.
I again Stephen King fan, bad endings I'm used to.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But
But yeah, he was.
but I don't even think it's a bad ending. Like I think I let me go this way. I think they had a thing they were going for, and they swung really hard for the fences on it, and they whiffed it in a lot of ways. But
Nice.
I appreciate the effort.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, he was explaining it
um,
to me, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, strange.
yeah, yeah,
Wonder
it's
how the
really
journey is, though." But
the journey is interesting. One of the big things they do is you don't level up in the game.
oh,
You
okay.
do so you do different like challenges to get your perks, right? So it's
Yeah.
like kill 10 enemies with this gun, or kill 10 enemies with that gun, hunt this animal, that animal. And plus every so often you'll get a story mission and stuff that give you your perk points, and that's where you can start getting things like breathe underwater longer and
Mm.
carry more stuff, and your health goes up. So there's that.
Oh.
But with every mission you complete, you get what are called resistance points, which is supposed to be like the morale for the resistance. And so every so ever many number of those points, it triggers the story basically.
Got
And
you.
so you'll hit a thing, and then it'll go like, oh, now you're being hunted by whoever's, like one of the leaders, or one of the leaders is this is the thing that's also annoying. The three brothers and the sister that are running this whole thing, it's Joseph Seed at the top, and then Jacob and John Seed and Faith. So it's all J names,
Nice.
which was confusing because it's three bearded white guys with man buns and a woman. And it's like,
There you go.
oh, they all look the same, they all sound the same, and they all have J names. That doesn't help.
Jeez.
But a thing will pop up and be like, Jacob's men are hunting you, and then suddenly it's like either a crowd of people it'll look like any normal fight where like a truck full of bad guys will pull up to you, but they'll shoot you with a tranquilizer, and then you're down and you're dragged off into a story mission basically.
Oh wow.
So you can escape a lot of these. It's like this weird, interesting idea. Again, like the game has this whole control theme, where usually in a Far Cry game up to this point, it was you could do the entire open world stuff and then turn around and do the story missions later. And in this, it's like, sorry, you don't have that option. By playing the game, you're going to play our game, and you're going to get through it. And so like some people are like hating that, other people are loving it. I thought it was like a really interesting way to structure a game like that, because like when you get into like the meta narrative of a open world game, like it doesn't make any sense that you can do all the stuff you do without ever touching the story, especially when like half of the things going on require you to like follow the story to know why. Otherwise you're just collecting stuff for no reason. So
That's
so
kind
I
of
like
cool.
that.
It forces you to
Yeah,
stay on track.
I really liked all that, and I liked, yeah, I mean, I like one of the regions doesn't quite feel like they put as much effort into it as the other two. Like it was like, oh, here's the third one, and we we didn't know what to do with it.
Nice.
But all in all, I really enjoyed it. And so like I was like, okay, I felt like it was worth me spending a weekend and a half
Nice.
playing this.
Well, there you
Um,
go.
yeah.
Sweet.
So,
Maybe I'll have
but
to
again,
check it out.
yeah. So don't go into it thinking that it's going to make some huge political stand. Like its political stance is America is dying and shitty, so we're just waiting for the end of the world. Like that's its political stance.
Yeah.
So
Well, there we go. And on that note, oh man, that's great. That's a great way to end.
yeah. Yeah, sometimes the end of the world is just coming, people.
Oh man. So, I don't know if we talked about this on the last episode, but we got like about 10 minutes to run through this. But anything else you need to add, or
No, I've been rewatching I finally got back into like X-Files and Smallville and stuff, so that's
Cool.
going to be fun. I'll get more into that, I think, next week. Oh, did we talk about that? We're going weekly, everybody.
That
Hi.
is what I was going to go into.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
we are
some
going to
other
be
new
going
stuff, but,
weekly.
nah.
So you'll get to hear our lovely voices every week. Um,
Which will hopefully give us like more diverse things to talk about. I think what happens is after like 2 weeks, it's like all I remember is the game that I've been playing for
Exactly.
50
Yeah, me
hours,
too.
and not like the half hour I took to watch like the premiere of Alex Inc. that I really liked.
oh,
So
I think we. Oh, you liked it? See, I didn't. I couldn't.
I liked it, but then after the second episode, I got really worried.
Oh,
So
see, I couldn't. I couldn't like get myself to watch the second episode.
it's not going to make you feel any better if you didn't like the first one. But we'll talk about it next week.
I'll watch it and we can have a discussion next week. How about
Okay.
that?
Perfect.
All right. So yeah. So we are going weekly. Every Wednesday the episode will air. I guess air. You can check it out on Podomatic or on the iTunes
Apple Podcasts, I think is what it's
podcast.
officially
Yes,
called now.
the
Yeah.
Apple Podcast app. But you can also follow us on Twitter at sayreportjr. Follow us individually. I am at Dale's Brain. Zach?
And I am at Zerwhiskey.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
I like that we don't spell him anymore. It's just like
Eh.
fend for yourself. But do you have anything else to add?
I have nothing else right now. I think we're good.
I think we're good. I think this is a good episode. Yeah, so
Good to be back.
It is good to be back. It's very good to be back. I like kept thinking, I'm like, what are we gonna talk about? Oh, we're gonna talk about this. We're not gonna get to talk like it's fun to think of like, oh, I want to talk about this on the podcast.
Yeah. And what was really happening, like part of the reason that I was the one first that was like, we should do this every 2 weeks till we get our feet under us, and then after 2 episodes, I'm like, I'm forgetting half the stuff I want to talk about.
Exactly.
We should just
Yep.
go weekly at this
Yep.
point.
Yep. Oh man, but I think it's gonna be good. So stick around, see how it happens, and hope you guys enjoy. So I'm gonna throw it to Liz. Bye.
Bye.
Do I hit stop or?
Thank you for listening to The Say Report with your hosts Dale Decker and Zach Sarowik. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.